Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe there are days when Hillary seems like a sensible Midwestern Methodist who grew up Republican in a suburb outside Chicago. That's the biographically accurate Hillary Clinton. But it's hardly the only Hillary Clinton. During the years she spent in Arkansas, for example, Hillary often played the loyal daughter of the American South, a Southern fried Dixie lady with a spunky feminist twist. That was the character she was portraying when we first met her 30 years ago this month. It was during the 1992 presidential primaries. Listen to her accent.
You know, I'm not sitting here as some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette. I'm sitting here because I love him, and I respect him, and I honor what he...
This wasn't just another political jab. You don't just watch it, you hit replay like a championship knockout. Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson didn't ease into the fight. They charged in like veteran fighters fueled by espresso and sharp wit. When they finished, Hillary Clinton's polished image lay in ruins, like a piñata smashed at a birthday party, battered, broken, and stripped of all the sweet stuff. This wasn't mere criticism. It was a full-on political demolition in stunning detail.
Should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her.
Attention, that just happened to Hillary Clinton. She's got a brand new job. Who would hire Hillary Clinton? Honestly, well, Columbia University would. Columbia University has now made Hillary Clinton a presidential fellow and, quote, professor of international relations. Now, what does Hillary Clinton know about international relations that qualifies her to be professor of it at an august Ivy League university or crypto Ivy League university? Well, unlike most professors at Columbia, she destroyed an entire country, a whole country. She wrecked the nation of Libya, which is a real country in North Africa. She killed the guy who ran it for no reason whatsoever. Now they have slave markets in downtown.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Hillary Clinton's political career has always played out like a soap opera that just won't get canceled. No matter how many seasons the audience pleads for the network to pull the plug. Every episode recycles the same tired plot lines, emails, questionable foreign deals, speeches that cost more than some countries' entire GDPs, yet somehow, she always acts surprised when these topics resurface. It's like the whole political stage exists solely to host her endless comeback tour, starring the same talking points she's been perfecting since the
Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Walls and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump.
Kelly and Tucker Carlson aren't the kind to let things slide. Together, they're shredding Hillary's polished image into confetti, stripping away every layer of spin until all that's left are half-baked excuses. They kick off with her State Department tenure that reads more like a masterclass in political theater. Plenty of applause-worthy moments on the surface, but behind the scenes, a chaos reel straight out of a blooper montage.
She puts out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, "Bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy."
You're running this company, you get attacked in public, you become a prop in the Hillary Clinton campaign. The media, as always, on cue, aligns their coverage with her propaganda priorities. They're sort of a seamless unit, the Hillary campaign, CBS News, NBC, Shep Smith. But your job at that point is to sort of bow your head and say, busted.
For example, sold to the public as a grand humanitarian mission. In reality, it spiraled into a geopolitical disaster, leaving the region shakier than a folding chair on an uneven patio. The moment the cameras stopped rolling, the so-called strategy unraveled faster than a cheap knockoff handbag. And when it came time to face the fallout, she spun so quickly it probably gave the entire press corps whiplash.
She mentioned a phrase about you. I don't want to repeat it.
Oh, you're not going to hurt my feelings, don't worry.
She called this gentleman, this honorable gentleman, that he is playing the role of a... You say it.
I didn't see it.
What does that tell you about Tucker Carlson and right-wing media and also Vladimir Putin?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot.
She said, the useful idiot. You didn't.
She's a child. I don't listen to her.
No.
How's Libya doing?
No.
Then there's the Clinton Foundation, a charity that somehow doubled as a revolving door for foreign donations. Timed perfectly with her moments of political power. The timing was so flawless, it might as well have been choreographed by a Broadway producer. Every donation came with a smile, a handshake, and not a single nod to the obvious conflicts. Because in Clinton's world, any criticism isn't a red flag, it's just a simple misunderstanding.
Did Hillary Clinton, then Hillary Rodham, play in Watergate?
Well, there's a book. The book is called The Crime Without Honor, The Crimes of Camelot and the Fall of Richard Nixon, written in the 1990s by the former chief counsel of the House Judiciary Committee. And he describes terrible things about him.
Kelly isn't pulling any punches when it comes to their personal brands either. Hillary's political persona is so meticulously crafted. It's basically a museum exhibit one where the plaques conveniently skip the juiciest details. The woman who once touted herself as a champion for everyday Americans somehow kept rubbing elbows with billionaires, sipping champagne while talking about how to connect with the working class. That's like hosting a vegan cooking class inside a steakhouse. It just doesn't add up. Her 2016 campaign was another chapter begging for a breakdown. A perfect storm of overconfidence and tone-deaf strategy. Instead of focusing on swing states that actually decided the election, she funneled resources into places she assumed were already locked down. And when it comes to the infamous email scandal, Tucker digs deep, highlighting that, for someone with decades of political experience, she managed to engineer a digital security disaster that makes a teenager's hacked social media account look like Fort Knox.
She calls the Trump administration hypocritical, dangerous, and dumb over this story. It's not the hypocrisy that bothers me, it's the stupidity. We're all shocked that President Trump and his team don't actually care about protecting classified information or federal record retention laws. I mean, this is so rich, given her history. What's much worse is that top Trump administration officials put our troops in jeopardy by sharing military plans on a commercial messaging app and unwittingly invited a journalist into the chat. That's
Her defense was always some version of it wasn't that bad, which in politics is like insisting the Titanic only sank a little. It wasn't just about the emails. It was the whole pattern, bending rules until they twisted into pretzels. Megyn cut straight to the double standards, pointing out how the media that would have roasted any other politician for the same mistakes treated her like a misunderstood genius. The coverage was so skewed, you'd think the press was trying out for her personal PR team. Every scandal became a chance to move on, and every questionable choice got spun as some bold, genius move nobody else could grasp. And then there's her uncanny talent for blaming everyone but herself, kind of like losing a chess game and blaming the pieces.
She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset. And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist. That's what this scandal's about. Pieces of it we knew. New pieces are coming in by the day thanks to these declassifications. And it's...
Her foreign policy record beyond Libya isn't exactly off limits either. Arms deals greenlit under her watch have a curious way of lining up with donations to the Clinton Foundation. Pure coincidence. Of course, at least, that's the story. But when these coincidences pile up like a Jenga tower, it's only a matter of time before the whole thing crashes down. Megyn zeroes in on her speaking fees, hundreds of thousands paid for 45-minute lectures to banks and corporations on leadership, money that could have funded entire community projects. The irony of charging big bucks to talk about economic inequality seemed to fly right over her head. Much like the irony of touting transparency while running one of the most secretive political machines in recent memory, Megyn calls out her campaign style to every public appearance a carefully lit photo op. Every handshake pre-approved, every interaction meticulously scripted. It's politics as marketing, where connection takes a back seat to control. And, despite all the image management, she couldn't shake the feeling that she cared more about her own legacy than actually listening to voters.
Not only did they not dismiss the bullshit coming into them from Hillary's operatives, but they doubled down and they opened up an investigation into Trump and his campaign and started arresting people and using the Hillary-generated information like the Steele dossier and more. You know, you heard Erin Mate explain she had this CrowdStrike group that suggested it was the Russians who had hacked the DNC. They took that hook, line, and sinker, and so on. So this shit.
The roast keeps circling back to one inescapable theme: inevitability. Hillary and her team acted like the presidency was hers by birthright, a crown handed down through political royalty. That smug certainty turned out to be her biggest weakness, pushing away voters craving authenticity instead of entitlement. By the time she realized the script was off, it was already too late. The credits were rolling on her campaign. Her post-2016 tour of excuses only poured gasoline on the flames book deals. Speaking gigs, interviews all carefully crafted to rewrite the story. Each one glossed over glaring mistakes, turning failure into a case study of misunderstood genius. For someone who brands herself a fighter for the people, her record often favors policies and compromises that leave her own base feeling more than a little disappointed.
You're probably the only person in this room who would know.
It wouldn't surprise you to know that she's not too fond of me.
She hates you like the devil hates holy water.
So, when I resigned as vice chair of the DNC in 2016, specifically so that I could campaign against Hillary Clinton in that
one she could talk the talk of a reformer. But when it came to action, her choices consistently lined up with the interests of the political elite. Tucker didn't just call out her political missteps, they dissected the tone, the calculated pauses, the way she delivers every line like a lawyer reading a contract. Every word feels scripted, every gesture rehearsed. In a world hungry for authenticity, her style is like serving instant coffee at a gourmet tasting technically functional but deeply unsatisfying. The roast doesn't ease up when it shifts to the present. Every time rumors surface about her running again, the collective public groan could register on the Richter scale. And yet, she seems to feed off the attention, as if the endless will she or won't she speculation is enough to keep her relevant.
Clinton, as America's national tattoo remover, she alone can erase the stain of our youthful bad judgment. God bless that woman. But wait a second, you say, Hillary can't win. She's yesterday's candidate. This country's got a short attention span. We want the new thing. And Hillary Clinton isn't new. She's been around forever.
They treat her legacy as a textbook case of political hubris, a story of ambition unchecked by self-omission, of a career so focused on power that the real purpose of leadership got lost somewhere along the way. It's about someone who had every advantage: connections, resources, a platform built over decades, yet still managed to stumble over the basics of connecting with the very people she aimed to lead. Just when you think the roast is wrapping up, it circles back to the contradictions. How one can be both hyper-calculated and astonishingly careless. Deeply experienced yet consistently, the takedown spares no chapter of her political life, from her earliest days as First Lady to her recent attempts to steer the Democratic Party, each era marked by its own blunders, missteps, and half-hearted efforts, all delivered with the same unshakable confidence.
This is a document produced with federal money?
Oh, absolutely, without question. I don't know that they paid them, but Hillary's trips back and all the communications.
But it's part of it. It's part of the judicial system. It's part of our justice system.
Well, yes, but this is the impeachment inquiry by the House.
Of course, but this is not some freelance project.
Oh no. This is to
suppress it.
Surely. And it never comes up. We decided it wouldn't be helpful for them to see this stuff. That's what redeemed.
And the best part, the roast isn't over. As long as Hillary Clinton keeps popping up in headlines, Megyn Kelly will have no shortage of material. Every speech, every interview, Every attempt to rebrand is just another chapter in this never-ending saga that, judging by the past few decades, shows no sign of quietly fading away. Hillary's political resume might be lengthy, but it's packed with more red flags than a bullfighting arena. Every so-called achievement comes with an asterisk the size of a campaign billboard. She's been in the room